A $1 bar of soap stops every garden pest in your yard. Deer, rabbits, raccoons, and groundhogs walk past it every time. American farmers used this exact trick for over 100 years. Old gardeners hung soap chunks on string around every vegetable bed. Modern homeowners spend $200 on fencing and sprays that wash away after a single afternoon thunderstorm passes. Plastic fences that warp and bend after one harsh winter freeze. But this dollar bar from the grocery store keeps working for months, and the entire lawn and garden industry buried it on purpose. This is the buried story of the Irish Spring Soap Defense Method. Welcome to Hidden Timber Ret, where backwoods knowledge returns. If real fieldcraft matters to you, hit subscribe and ring the bell. This is where old country wisdom meets what modern brands replaced. In 1909, a farm journal in Ohio printed a small note. It described farmers tying lye soap chunks around vegetable rows. The note claimed deer would refuse to enter the protected garden. By 1920, the same trick spread through Pennsylvania farms. Appalachian families hung soap bars from low fence posts every spring. Their tomato beds and corn rows survived through every summer night. Old Vermont apple growers used the same trick around their orchards. By the 1950s, this method was common in every farm county. When Irish Spring launched in 1972, it became the bar. Its strong fragrance proved more effective than older lye-based soap. Veterans returning from rural farms told their suburban neighbors. The trick spread quietly through gardening clubs across the nation. Then, chemical pest companies launched their first repellent sprays, and the soap method got pushed to the back pages of every catalog. Suburban centers stopped recommending what they could no longer sell. Old-timers in the country never forgot, but city gardeners did fast. Modern garden mags dropped this trick by 1990 entirely. But before I show you why this works so completely, listen close now. This video is just the surface of the buried backwoods knowledge here. I gathered every lost field method modern outdoor culture replaced, all inside the complete Forbidden Hunter's Vault collection online. Sub-zero heat methods built from simple field logic and small fuel. Dead wood firecraft. Most modern campers were never taught at all. Invisible camp setups that erase your footprint from the timber line. Appalachian meat storage methods that still beat any modern cooler. Whitetail funnel logic that changes how a man reads the deer woods. 8 powerful modules of buried backwoods knowledge in one place. The complete vault link sits at the top of the description below. But stay right here, because the next part rewrites your whole yard. Because what comes next is the part the chemical lawn industry hates. The science behind this old soap defense is harder to ignore today. Whitetail deer carry about 297 million receptors. Their nose is roughly 60 times more sensitive than the human nose. What feels like a mild scent to you slams a deer like raw chemical. Strong, fragrant soap bars overload that sensitive nose immediately. Deer turn around within 30 feet of any hanging soap chunk source. Rabbits do the same because their olfactory range is also enormous. Raccoons avoid soap because the strong scent masks their food trail. Groundhogs treat soap stations as a clear danger boundary line edge. A 1994 New Hampshire Farm Bureau ran field tests. Garden plots with hanging soap saw damage drop by 84%. Plots with no soap defense lost over half their vegetable yield total. If you made it this deep into the video, you already understand it. You already know more about pest defense than most of your neighbors. Hit subscribe and share this with one man who still defends his land. The complete vault sits in the description for every deeper detail. Now stay locked in, because the next part is the heaviest of the video. So why did this knowledge vanish from every modern garden magazine? Why did your neighbor never hear about a $1 soap defense bar? The lawn and garden chemical market reaches over $7 billion yearly. Each homeowner spends $100 yearly on repellent sprays. Multiply that across millions of American backyards every single year. That huge dependency model collapses if a $1 soap bar wins. You cannot patent a bar of grocery store soap with strong fragrance. You cannot lock away knowledge that fits inside any household budget. You cannot create yearly upgrades for a method that simply works well. So the garden centers stopped stocking the old soap defense recipes. Trade catalogs labeled it folk myth across the late 1980s. Chemical sprays got page after page of full-color paid ad coverage. Plastic deer fencing got endless promotional coverage through stores. Motion sensor sprinkler systems took over the backyard pest market, and the dollar soap bar quietly disappeared from every recommendation. Generations of homeowners never even heard about this defense trick, but the truth never died because the bars never left the soap aisle. Irish Spring still sits on every grocery shelf in every state today, from small towns in Maine to large cities in Southern California now. Cheap, abundant, and waiting for any homeowner who knows the method. Which brings us to the part that matters most for your own backyard, because knowing the science means nothing if you cannot apply it well, and applying it correctly is much simpler than the catalogs claimed. What I'm about to walk you through takes about 10 minutes total. Anyone with a knife and some twine can defend a quarter-acre easily, but there are 3 small mistakes that ruin the entire method fast. 3 small mistakes that turned many gardeners away from this craft. 3 details the old-timers never bothered to write down on paper, because they learned them from their fathers around the back porch. And those 3 details are exactly what comes next in this video. Here is exactly how to deploy the Irish Spring Soap Defense System. Step 1 is buying the right bars at the local grocery store today. Pick the original green bar of Irish Spring with the strongest scent. Avoid scent-free or sensitive skin variations because they fail badly. 1 pack of 3 bars covers about a 30-foot garden perimeter. Step 2 requires a sharp pocket knife and a clean cutting board now. Cut each bar into roughly 1 inch by 1 inch square chunks total. 1 full bar gives you between 14 and 16 chunks total. Step 3 is the part most beginners get completely wrong on day 1. You cannot just toss the chunks loose onto the open garden ground bed. Loose chunks dissolve into the soil after a single heavy rain falls. Wrap each chunk in a small cheesecloth square or use a fine mesh bag. Tie the cloth tight with a 6-inch piece of natural twine or string. Now you have small soap pouches that breathe but resist heavy rain. Step 4 is placing the pouches with proper spacing across the yard. Hang each pouch about 3 feet off the ground at deer nose level. Use simple wood stakes, low fence posts or low tree branch tips. Space each pouch every 6 to 8 feet around the protected zone. For deer pressure, hang at 3 to 4 feet above the ground line. For rabbits and groundhogs, hang 1 row near the ground level edge. For raccoons near a chicken coop, hang pouches at coop entry points. Step 5 is rotation, which most modern homeowners forget to do well. Replace each pouch after every 4 to 6 weeks of normal weather. After a heavy rain week, check pouches and replace any soft chunks. Rotate pouch positions a few feet each month to keep animals confused. That rotation step keeps the entire defense working all season long. Now compare that simple routine to what most homeowners try right now. They buy plastic deer fence kits costing between $60 and $100. They install motion sprinklers costing near $200 each. They spray expensive repellents that wash away after 1 summer storm. They burn through $300 in pest gear by mid-August. They still find chewed plants and broken stems each Sunday morning. Meanwhile, the man with 3 soap bars sleeps through every night. I have to be honest with you about one limitation of this old method. Soap defense works on deer, rabbits, raccoons, and groundhogs well, but it does not fully stop insects, slugs, or any determined rats. Heavy rain weeks reduce its strength and force quicker replacements. Local conditions will shape how any defense method really performs. But for any rural or suburban yard, the soap method remains unmatched. There is one bonus benefit nobody talks about with this old method. Strong scented soap also helps mask compost piles from raccoon raids. Old farmers noticed this fact 2 generations before modern science, so you protect your garden and your compost at the same exact time. That is 1 expensive raccoon-proof bin you no longer have to buy. Old gardeners hung soap for layered reasons most modern people forgot. Modern homeowners chase 1 feature at a time across many products. The countryman solved many problems with 1 cheap soap pouch only. Now think about what this means for your own backyard tonight again. $1 instead of $300 per growing season total. A defense that lasts months instead of 1 washing off in any storm. A scent every wild mammal accepts as a strong danger boundary fast. And a method passed down by farmers who actually fed their families. This is what the lawn industry tried to bury under chemical brands. This is what your grandfather might have used without anyone knowing. And this is what waited 100 years for a quiet country comeback. Imagine your next morning walking out to a fully untouched garden bed. Imagine the rabbit 40 feet away that simply turns and walks away. Imagine the buck that crosses your line but never stops to graze it. That is what a true scent-based defense looks like in any backyard. That is what country families in 1920 took for granted yet. That is what we lost when we accepted plastic fence as the only fix. That is what comes back the moment you cut the first soap bar open. This knowledge did not die when garden magazines stopped covering it. It waited inside farm journals, country porches, and family routines. It waited for someone willing to bring it back into honest daylight. If this video changed how you defend your land, please share it now. Share it with the man who still values old country wisdom over noise. Every share keeps one more buried fieldcraft truth alive in country. The complete Forbidden Hunter's Vault link sits in the description. Inside that vault are 7 other field methods I have not shown. Methods even older than the soap defense, even harder to find now. Methods that change how a serious man sees his entire piece of land. Subscribe so the next vault drop reaches your feed before anyone else. Because the next forbidden method I bring back is even heavier yet. And the man who carries it will defend his property with quiet ease. This knowledge did not die. It only waited for the right countryman. And tonight that countryman watching the screen is finally you alone. The vault opens again very soon with the next buried fieldcraft truth. Cut 3 soap bars this weekend. Watch what the rabbits no longer do. And remember the men who taught us this long before any plastic fence. The land rewards the man who listens to older, quieter country voices. Hang the pouches at the right height. Replace them every 6 weeks. Watch the broken stems disappear from your tomato rows by mid-August. Watch your corn rows survive the night without one missing ear total. And feel what your grandfather felt when his garden simply held firm.